Watchdogs say the world's richest man, Elon Musk, has declared war on Social Security. Tell us about this.
The interesting thing, though, is just how ridiculous it is, because it's now you have literally the richest man in the world sitting on a commission that's supposed to find trillions of dollars in savings. And, they're pretending like, oh, well, that's this $50 million program that somebody's doing that's, stupid on its face. And you're like, no, when you're talking about trillions of dollars, when it has a T in it, what they're doing is they're going to come and rob you of your Social Security benefits. That's where the money is. That's what they always do. They come after your Social Security and your Medicare. So what happened to start this latest one is Senator Mike Lee and this backbencher in the House, in a pretty coordinated way, started talking about how Social Security is bad and we need to turn it over to Wall Street. We need to wholesale get rid of it. The senator's thread was 40 tweets of just wrong information long. The House was an interview, but it's the same thing. They're saying, hey, now that, we're actually getting this done, it's time for everyone to realize that we're talking about cutting Social Security. And on Twitter, the thing that really started the news cycle is Elon Musk did one of his interesting tweets. So he is a long held believer in the fact that Social Security is bankrupting the country, that we can't afford Social Security. This is Elon Musk himself. So it's no surprise that that's where they're going. But, I have to deal with people who aren't you, Tom. The media is like, oh, out of left field, or where did this come from? Or Donald Trump promised he wasn't going to cut Social Security benefits. And I'm like, they've only got one play. As soon as we really just make peace with that, it's pretty obvious that this is what they're going to do every single time. And what's also obvious, Tom, is that the next unfortunate phase is you're going to have a bunch of credulous Democrats who are going to be like, hey, maybe I should get on this commission to have a good guy's voice on the commission because maybe there's good things. No, unless he pledges in writing, I will not cut one penny of Social Security benefits, one penny of Medicare or Medicaid benefits, then this commission is nothing more than an attack on our earned benefits.
Yeah, and what they're going to do with regard to the Democrats. They're going to go to the Problem Solvers Caucus, the Democrats who have their hand out for whoever gives them the most money. And, the banks will start showering cash on them, and they'll start going, well, maybe we should have a Medicare Advantage kind of version of Social Security Advantage. Wouldn't that be a good idea? People could put their money in the stock market and make more money than they do in Social Security. And a lot of young people will go, oh, really? What do you think?
Exactly. And maybe even all they've done is shorten that path, because it's literally the richest man in the world is chairing the commission, Tom. So when they put their hands out, it's Elon Musk who drops the bag of cash in it. He bought Twitter for $44 billion. It lost 80% of its value, but he bought an election and he owns, some significant portion of the government, which is reflected in a $100 billion increase in his personal wealth. So this is like a no-brainer for these billionaires. But again, at the end of the day, they know they need to take their money from somewhere, and that somewhere is our pockets. It's our Social Security. That's what they're coming after.
In the wake of the killing this morning in New York of the CEO of United Healthcare, they're the largest provider of Medicare Advantage programs in the United States. We have no idea who this guy was, or whether he's upset about something that involved personal stuff, or whether it had to do with professional. Who knows? But it kind of lifts the question of Medicare Advantage, I think, up a little bit. Where are we at? How much longer is this open enrollment period? I'm thinking I need to publish another one of my Look Out for Medicare Advantage op-eds. It's been a while. I think it's been a year since I've done it. And
I think publish that soon, Tom, because it's days left in open enrollment. I think the murder of an individual CEO or otherwise, we don't know anything about that. Right. What actually is the case there, but United Health, no matter what, this is the biggest player in privatizing Medicare and privatized Medicare in the insurance market outside of Medicare. The biggest benefactor from this enormous push that is going to happen, and it's going to be hard to fight against, Tom, under the Trump administration. If Dr. Oz gets confirmed, he's got one goal, and he's not a clown, like many of the other nominees. Dr. Oz is much more of a cold-blooded health insurance corporate executive, and they're pushing to privatize Medicare. And United Health will gain enormous amounts. They'll be by far and away the biggest winner from that, and obviously the biggest loser is the American people. So Medicare Advantage is going to be,
To what extent can that be done by executive action? I'm assuming that making Medicare Advantage the default when you sign up is not something that requires congressional action, that can be done simply by executive action?
Yeah, the really unfortunate thing, Tom, is that an enormous amount of this stuff, when it comes to privatizing Medicare, can be done through executive action. And the first Trump administration, they didn't know a lot of that up front, but they were educated by the corporations, really quickly on it. And so by the end, they'd had their thumb on the scale quite vigorously, and that's where you really saw the first acceleration, and we cracked into over 50%, and now we're at 54%. They're going to do that just on steroids, and we will obviously be fighting it tooth and nail. But the truth is, they're going to get a lot. But also the truth is, they still can't deliver. So rural health is still going to be collapsing at an accelerating rate as Medicare privatizes more and more. And I think that is where we will find, some sort of, like Senator Lankford from Oklahoma. No one's calling that guy a progressive, but he understands he's got no more hospitals left. Yeah. So because the system literally can't deliver rural health care. So we're going to have to fight it tooth and nail, but there's so much that...
A lot of the rural hospital problems have to do with the failure of red states to expand Medicaid, don't they?
Some of it, but an enormous amount is actually just due to reimbursement rates by Medicare Advantage.
Oh, really?
Some of it is actually, and so the rural health...
So hospitals are going out of business because the Medicare Advantage providers are refusing, what is it, 18% is the rate at which they refuse to pay?
It's refusals, and then it's also very low amounts. So they're saying, no, we're not going to pay you this for that.
Lower in
we're going to pay. We're going to pay you an enormous amount less. And if you want to fight me for 5 years, then I'll pay you a little bit more. But I will say, I know we don't.
In addition to bringing you the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV and Video Media Online, we also have a whole set of ways you can interact with us and tools you can use to spread the word about the importance of democracy and the threats to it in our republic. First, there's your daily homework. Sue Nethercutt puts together a daily email newsletter that has a link to every story I discuss on the air, so you can find my sources and you can share them with your friends. It's free, and you can sign up at thomhartmann.com. Second, I publish my daily take every day over at the hartmannreport.com website. That's also free if you want the daily 5 days a week rant in your inbox. No ads either. Third, we have the podcasts. There's the free 1-hour version of our daily show that's advertising supported. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts normally. And then there's also the podcast of the entire 3-hour show with no advertisements, and that's available by subscription over at thomhartmann.com. So check them all out at thomhartmann.com and hartmannreport.com. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosanali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac and Tiana in Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. We believe that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. Our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger. Leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us, that's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, happy Friday, TGIF, Shabbat Shalom, Juma Mubarak. It is the end of the week. It's the beginning of the weekend. It's Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We will have two guests on the show today, though. In the second hour, we will have a full hour with Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls in a national Progressive Townhall meeting. And in our third hour, Jacob Soboroff of NBC News is going to drop by for a few minutes to tell us about a documentary that's going to be running on MSNBC about the just absolute utter brutality of the Trump administration's child separation program the last time Trump was in office. You're going to find it fascinating. And I wanted to highlight this thing. I've watched the documentary. It's brilliant. So a lot going on in the world today. The Forgotten Promise, how the Budapest Memorandum shaped Ukraine's nightmare. I'll get to that in a minute. And thanks to the idiots in the GOP, public school students in Ohio can now take classes in how to follow Satan. When will the followers of Thor and Zeus weigh in? And will we face another pandemic under Trump? And will it be disease X that is brewing in the Congo? We'll get to all those things in just a few minutes, actually. My opening rant today, my daily take over at HartmannReport.com, is titled The Forgotten Promise, How the Budapest Memorandum Shaped Ukraine's Nightmare. It was 30 years ago yesterday, December 5th, 1994, the second year of the Bill Clinton administration, when the United States, Russia, and it was then Russia, by the way. The Soviet Union had fallen 3 years earlier. In fact, Boris Yeltsin was the president at the time. The United States, Russia, Great Britain got together and signed this, and Ukraine, of course, got together and signed this deal. And the deal was necessary because at the time, Ukraine, which most Americans have no idea, but Ukraine is actually physically the largest country in Europe. It's bigger than France, which is a pretty good size country. It's bigger than Germany physically. It's about the size of maybe a little larger than Texas. And Ukraine was where Russia had put about a little more than a third of their total nuclear stockpile, because they didn't want all those bombs on Russian territory. And so they put them all in Ukraine. And most of them were pointed at the United States, although they could have been pointed anywhere. It was enough atomic bombs to kill everybody in America 3 times over, or everybody in Europe 3 times over. It was just a massive cache of nuclear weapons that was in Ukraine. And in fact, there were 2,000 SS-19 and SS-24 ICBMs. These were in the 400 to 550 kiloton range, 37 times larger than our bombs that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, each one of those bombs. And there was about 1,900 of them. The Ukrainian stash of nuclear weapons was 6 times the size of what China has today. So Ukraine could easily have prevented Russia from invading them simply by pointing their nukes at Russia and saying, yeah, make my day. But instead, they said, you know, we'd like to become a modern democracy. We'd like to join the rest of Europe. We want to start that process. And that means denuclearizing, getting rid of our nukes. And so the United States and Great Britain each kicked in $3 billion to pay for the cost of transporting these weapons to Russia. And Russia kicked in the cost of taking the weapons apart or, repurposing them on Russian soil. And over the course of the next 2 years, 1995, 1996, all of the nuclear weapons in Ukraine, which at that time was the 3rd largest stash of nuclear weapons in the world. It was the United States, Russia, Ukraine, where Ukraine was number 3, the 3rd largest stash of nuclear weapons in the world. All vanished from Ukraine, ended up in Russia. And in exchange for that, the United States, Russia, and Great Britain signed a document on December 5th, 1994, promising forever that Ukraine's borders would always be respected and that no country would invade Ukraine, and that if any country did invade Ukraine, that the United States, Great Britain, and Russia would go to Ukraine's aid. This is a binding document that was signed by President Bill Clinton on December 5th, 1994, 30 years ago yesterday. And we can all see how that worked out. Obviously Putin decided, treaties, we don't need no stinking treaties. Technically, this wasn't a treaty, it was an agreement, but, you get the point. And here we are. The anniversary was celebrated yesterday by Russia massing thousands of troops on Ukraine's southern border. They're getting ready for just an absolutely massive invasion. They're going to try and take Ukraine before Trump becomes president. This is, last chance. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you want to share that with anybody, you can. It's free. You can find it over at HartmannReport.com. It's right up at the top of the page. The Forgotten Promise how the Budapest Memorandum shaped Ukraine's nightmare. I also posted it over at Daily Kos today, although the title there, the headline is, Yesterday was the 30th anniversary of what became a massive betrayal. So here we are. Meanwhile, thanks to Christians in Ohio, kids in Ohio can now take classes in, actually it's critical thinking skills, but they're being offered by the Satanic Temple, which has got a whole bunch of people really flipped out. Yes. So here's the deal. The Republicans in Ohio, the Republicans who control Ohio, passed a law saying that if students want to skip class and go to church, literally, get in a bus and go to a church and receive instruction in Christianity, for an hour or so, and then have the bus bring them back to school for the rest of the school day. If they want to do that, if their parents sign a permission slip, that's cool. The school doesn't pay for the bus. The church has to pay for the bus. But there's a bunch of mega churches, and now there's this organization called LifeWise Academy, which is kind of organized around this. And in fact, the LifeWise Academy is a pretty substantial operation. NBC News reported in April that LifeWise now has chapters in more than 300 schools in a dozen states, teaching 35,000 public school students, which is pretty amazing. So here you've got kids in Ohio saying, "Hey, I get an hour off school, and we get to go learn about Jesus." So in steps the Satanic Temple. These people are great. I'm thinking I need to add them to my Christmas donating list, because in fact we should probably get the Satanic Temple back on the program. We've had their founder on the program a couple of times, their Grand Poobah or whatever his title is, and what they're offering, along with, it's co-sponsored by the Reason Alliance, which is started by the same people who run the Satanic Temple. And they're offering students at Edgewood Elementary School in Marysville, Ohio, as part of the Marysville Exempted Village School District, a chance to enroll their kids in the Hellion Academy of Independent Learning, HAIL, H-A-I-L. And what they're going to be taught is critical thinking skills. And that sort of thing, and the true history of America, the First Amendment, and all that sort of thing. But because it's the Satanic Temple, the low information Christians in Ohio are just hysterical. They're just absolutely hysterical, posting on social media, "I will fight with all I have. This is precisely why we should officially be a Christian nation," and BS like that. So God bless the Satanic Temple. Words 20 years ago I never thought would be coming out of my mouth, but it's incredible what they're doing. They're doing really good work. Meanwhile, there's a mystery flu-like disease that has killed a whole bunch of people in Congo. Excuse me. At the same time that Bob Kennedy and Donald Trump are talking about cutting funding for vaccines, doing away with pandemic preparedness, and instead focusing all of our government's public health efforts on, on diabetes and heart disease. Brilliant.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Dr. Peter Hotez says there's 10 possible pandemic diseases on the horizon here in America. I'll tell you about that right after the break. And welcome back. Amy in Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Amy, what's on your mind today?
I wanted to tell you that Medicare, well, at least under our current president, is 24 hours a day. It's the only agency that is. They work
really?
all day long, all night long. So they would work Saturday, the last day.
Oh, that's
because
great.
They're still part of Biden's administration. And I went from United to regular Medicare and Medicaid in January. I did. So because after I heard you talking about it. Because in Dane County, it actually works pretty well. But I did it only to pay my utility bill. But, I know they would. After that, I went to regular Medicare and Medicaid, because I do have Medicaid. I'm lucky until I'm not lucky.
So
but
Medicaid
anyway,
fills in the 20% gap on Medicare. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I know. But but anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I was able to do that. And Medicare, they're very nice. You can even give them the drugs. And they said, which I had beforehand. And they said, we found you the Part D plan, Amy, because they knew it already. Yeah. And they told me to write it down and their phone numbers. They're so helpful at Medicare.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You call regular Medicare.
Yeah, but don't call those numbers they advertise on TV. Those will get you to a salesperson who's, trying to make $1,000 commission. Thank you, Amy.
They're very nice. They don't tell anyone anything. They're very truthful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You just did a public service, Amy. I appreciate that. Jerry in Venice, California. Hey, Jerry, what's on your mind today?
I'd like to speak about the Women's March this year. That everybody's poo-pooing that there were just a bunch of liberals down there. These women that were there, these Me Too women, especially these younger women that are desirable, that men don't want to keep their hands off of. 50 years ago, I sold fruit on a Model A pickup on the Venice Boardwalk, and the only place that was safe for women was at that truck from the Me Too monsters,
Yeah.
And the last Women's March in L.A., I went to all three, and these were not your typical peace marchers. They were there to look at themselves or reflect on themselves.
Right.
These were three people coming there with this Women's March in mind, and the last one had about an acre of tables, and they're all just liberal.
So what do you know about what's planned for this January in D.C.?
Well, they're all poo-pooing the idea of the Women's March because things have changed.
Uh-huh.
Things ain't changed.
No, I get
Trump
that.
don't have all them beautiful women around him because he's changed.
Yeah.
You understand? That's all I understand.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. You know, they threw a few bad guys in jail, you know, like Harvey Weinstein. But this is still, obviously, you know, you don't change a culture in a year or even 10 years.
Yeah, well, these people are normal people. I rode back on the train to Ontario with them because everybody on the train that day was basically French. Mm-hmm. And it was just normal older people and younger people, and just was not what these people are peddling.
Yeah.
That they were just a bunch of liberals.
Great. Well, thank you, Jerry. Well said. We'll be right back, 20 minutes past the hour. Stay tuned. Back with more of, well, I got to tell you about this disease that is percolating. And then I'll be picking up your calls. It's Anything Goes Friday. Stay with us. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. So after the horrific school shooting in Tennessee, leaving 3 9-year-olds dead, as well as three adults, the Tennessee legislature has taken 2 very interesting steps. The first is they're moving to shield gun manufacturers and sellers from liability lawsuits. But even more interesting, the legislature has just passed a bill that sets up a statewide system where you can turn in teachers for teaching things that make children feel bad about themselves, specifically teaching white children that white people once enslaved black people. Seriously. Or teaching that, about the Holocaust, for example, that, white people in Germany killed Jews. This is apparently going to be not just outlawed in Tennessee, but there's a whole apparatus being set up right now so that you can turn in your neighbors. It's just, there's a whole long rant about this over at HartmannReport.com. Check it out.
In 94, the paper signed, a promise made to ease the mind, a deal of trust, a hopeful dawn, but now we see how it went wrong. Ukraine gave up its mighty shield, the power no nation dared to wield. For peace they traded fire for trust, now that promise lies in dust. Oh, the Budapest betrayal, a trust exchange, but hearts impaled. The world looked on, it turned away, while children cried where bombs now lay. The Budapest betrayal, a shattered vow, a tragic tale.
Welcome back. 22 minutes past the hour. I'll get to your calls in just a minute. Mystery like flu disease X is being investigated. It's killed 79 people. There's different reports, actually. Some reports indicate more than 200 people have died in Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Nobody knows what this disease is. It might be a filovirus. It might be one of these hemorrhagic diseases. It might be a coronavirus. It could be the first real big incidence of a brand new flu, presumably a mutated bird flu. What we do know is that it's mostly killing young people, which is what the bird flu did back in 1918. It hit young people harder than it hit old people. And so Nobody knows. Presumably within the next 48 hours, the world will know, because you've got some of the top virologists in the world have headed over to Congo, to Kinshasa, the capital of DRC, and where they're, several of the 40 some odd of these people died in the hospital. The thing that makes it seem that it's probably not flu is that people are experiencing and dying of severe anemia. So whatever this disease is, it's destroying red blood cells. And flu doesn't do that. So, and to the best of my knowledge, coronaviruses don't do that either. This may well be an airborne, it's possible that Ebola, for example, has now mutated and gone airborne. And if so, this is really bad news. Meanwhile, Dr. Peter Hotez, who was a regular on CNN and MSNBC and News Nation and whatnot for much of 2020 during the pandemic, kind of a go-to guy, warns that there are now 10 viruses floating around in the United States. Now, keep in mind, this is at the same time that Bob Kennedy and Donald Trump say we need to dial back on vaccines and vaccine research and pandemic preparations and all that sort of thing, and instead focus on the real diseases, heart disease and diabetes and obesity. But here's what Peter Hotez said. He said, we have another major coronavirus likely brewing in Asia. We know that these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year. We know we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the American Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas. We're expecting dengue and possibly Zika virus coming back, or Oropouche virus. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Oropouche, and yellow fever. He says, and also we're experiencing right now, as a result of the anti-vax hysteria that has been spread by people like Bob Kennedy since the pandemic, he said we have a 5-fold rise in pertussis cases. That's whooping cough, and it can kill children. In fact, children are dying of that right now in the United States. A 500% increase in pertussis cases, 15 different separate measles outbreaks in the United States this year, and we have polio that's been found in the wastewater in New York State. And meanwhile, Bob Kennedy has all, I'm reading now from this piece by Luke Andrews in the Daily Mail. Kennedy has already vowed to slash research spending on infectious diseases and instead reapportion the funds to solving the nation's chronic disease epidemic with rising cases of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. Right. Just wonderful. Just wonderful. At the time that we've got, I mean, part of this has to do with 6 billion people on planet Earth, right? Or 7 billion people, I guess we're up to now. And as a result of our ongoing population explosion, there was only 1 billion people on planet Earth in 1800 when Jefferson was elected president. That was when we hit our first billion. We hit our second billion in like 1930, I think it was. And now we're at 7 billion. And the world was well populated when Franklin Roosevelt became president. So at the time that we're seeing these infectious diseases now popping up, jumping from animals to humans and all that kind of thing, we now apparently are going to get a government that says, infectious disease is no big deal. In fact, Trump's proposal for the head of the FDA is a guy who believes in herd immunity. Yeah, let's all get sick.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
So what's on your mind? I'll pick up your calls on the other side of the break. And just a reminder, the second hour of the program is going to be Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for a full hour. Big news, today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosanali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac in Tiana and Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. We believe that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. Our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger, leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes.
I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us. That's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669. Did you know that every weekday we send out an email before the show giving you all the topics coming up so you can be fully informed and ready to interact with our program? Or that after the show we send out Sue's Stack, a list of every topic I've discussed along with clickable hot links to every source of information I've shared with you on the air? It's all completely free and available over at thom.tv, THOM.tv. Check it out.
It's beginning to look a lot like fascism everywhere you go. Take a look at the laws they pass, banning books en masse and stoking fear of those they don't control. It's beginning to look a lot like fascism, cops with riot gear. But the scariest sight to see is the hate they spread so free, year by year. A gag on your speech and a vote out of reach is the plan. They cheer. While the rich take it all, they'll make your wages fall, so only their power's clear. And every pundit on their screen says freedom's not welcome here. It's beginning to look a lot like fascism, propaganda's king. Telling you who you shouldn't trust and who to blame is just their favorite thing.
Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. It's Anything Goes Friday, picking up your calls today. Steve in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Steve, what's on your mind today?
Gosh, Tom, after listening to that was really good. It's something like back from the old 40s and 50s. Yeah. And the melody, if I'm about ready to fire up a vodka martini or Manhattan here.
There you go. and smoke a cigarette.
There you go.
Like Dean Martin. Well, so what's on your mind, Steve?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to just make a couple quick comments here. Number one, we should be really ashamed of ourselves for abandoning the Ukraine and the Budapest Memorandum. That's just horrible.
It was a huge failure by the Obama administration. He should not have allowed Russia to do that.
No, 100% agreed. And also, I'm very concerned with this new administration. Everything you mentioned, the possible pandemics coming on and the stuff in the Congo and also back in Asia and China there, we better get our vaccines. I'm trying to get my wife to get her pneumonia vaccine because I've had all mine and COVID shots and everything. So, because you never know what's coming down here, just try to protect yourself. But I wanted to speak about Wendell Potter and the shooting and stuff. I spent about 15 to 20 years in the medical claims examiner industry, paying claims and stuff like that, and it was nothing like that back in the day. Of course, I worked for a couple of self-insured companies, and one was a workers' comp. None of this nonsense of denying 39% of claims ever went on. Nothing to that degree. Yeah. Cosmetic procedures were and stuff like that, obviously. But, I'd love to hear what Wendell Potter's thoughts are. The former insurance executive turned whistleblower. Yeah. I'd like to hear what his thoughts are, and I don't blame anybody. Oh, also, I didn't see Sue's Daily Stack in my email last night because I was looking for that one article about that poor person who went bankruptcy and went to jail. I don't know what happened happened there? Maybe I missed
well,
it.
Sue's Daily Stack, if you didn't get an email, number one, check your spam folder because it did go out last night. And number two, you can always find it posted online at tom.tv, thom.tv. And I didn't look. I don't know that article is in there, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Sue is really diligent, and she catches pretty much everything. So, yeah.
Sure. It's great. Your emails are great. Sue's Daily Stack is great. It has so much detail in it, and I'm glad you had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a good weekend. And that's all. I'd love to see Wendell back on and see what he's got to say. I don't blame
Wendell has his own Substack newsletter, and if you go over to Substack.com and just there's a little search box, you just plug in Wendell Potter, and his newsletter will pop right up. You can subscribe to it. It's free, just like pretty much all Substack newsletters. And it only comes out every week or two. I mean, he doesn't post all that frequently, but it's always really good content when he does. And he did post something yesterday or the day before, as I recall, about United Healthcare. But boy, it's just amazing looking at social media. One of the posts I saw this morning, I will mourn one man's death when I finish mourning 1 million people in America who have died as a result of the last decade of for-profit health insurance. I mean, that kind of stuff, those sentiments. Americans are pissed. Now is a good time to start talking about Medicare for all, in my opinion. Steve, thanks for the call.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yep, good talking to you. Thank you. CC in Northbrook, Illinois. Hey, CC, what's on your mind today?
Happy Friday, Tom.
Back at you, CC.
By the way, I gave my donation to free speech as you requested. I considered that because I got ran out of church a couple of years ago, so I'll just give my donation to free speech as recommended.
Thank you, CC.
My points, I want to follow up on Mark Pocan. I asked him a question Wednesday about the surveys. I just happen to have one of the surveys, Tom, that I never sent back. And he's right, it's on here, but I got this from my representative. And like I said, they dictate in the surveys what the answer is, so to speak. And by the way,
what survey are you talking about, CC? I'm sorry, I don't recall the conversation.
These nationals, let me remind you, I asked Mark Pocan about rape and how rape is not an issue, and he cited a survey that the Democrats sent out, and rape wasn't on the top three, so to speak.
Okay.
And he's got a point, because I'm looking at a survey I got from the Democrats, and I did not mark women's health and rights. But I didn't know that included rape. I mean, but of course it would. And by the way, I was marking this survey as a local survey, and I did pick crime, education, and immigration as the top three. But I was thinking local. But anyway, on another point, Tom, moving on, Spoonermore, you've been giving that pushback, and I read his updated report, and he did not back down per se. He backed down from the bullet point, maybe, right, but he still holds the same premise. So, and when I'm waiting on Greg Palast to come on, I hope you can get all three of you guys on, because look like to me you didn't give Spoonermore the pushback that you give him when he's not off air, but hopefully all three of you guys can get online. We can have a good discussion on your show one day when Greg Palast gets the information.
The problem is that more and more of these states are basically hiding the information. This is what I'm hearing from both Greg and from Steve Spoonermore, is that they're having just a hell of a challenge getting actual voting information from, in particular states like Georgia, Texas, and Florida, where it looks like an awful lot of hanky-panky has been going on, in Ohio.
And that's why Spoonermore needed Kamala Harris to do it, to file a complaint. But she didn't. That's water under the bridge. But the last point, Tom, real quick, I think we're in this phase of psychological warfare with the assassination or the murder of the health executive. And what I'm saying by that, the American people right now under Trump are in the psychological warfare, at least half of us that didn't vote for him. And so I hope this is we're not trending towards a violent, terroristic type. That was a terroristic tactic to me. And I guarantee you every executive in the United States has concerns, and they should. Because, it's as Malcolm X said, it's the ballot or the bullet. It's the ballot or the bullet. Yep. And so that was my point, Tom. If you can, pick any one of those, that was my point, just the survey. The bigger point I wanted to make is that the survey dictates the answers.
I see.
It's an old trick in the book.
Yeah, it is. Phrase the questions in ways that it would be stupid not to answer them the way that they want you to. I get it. I totally get it. CC, thanks for the call. Spot on. Richard in Huntsville, Texas. Hey, Richard, what's on your mind today?
Something I have alluded to in previous calls before that I think is a perfect time to let the cat out of the bag. But first, Tom, I want to tell you, you remind me of Victor Laszlo in the movie Casablanca and the exchange between him and Humphrey Bogart. When
gambling? Says, I'm shocked.
No,
is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm not. It was the exchange when he sat down with him. He says, I congratulate you on your restaurant. And Bogart says, I congratulate you. And he says, for what? He says, for your work. And he says, well, thank you. I try. And Bogart says, we all try. You succeed. Tommy, if we all tried and succeeded half as much as you, we wouldn't be falling into a fascist abyss. But what I really called you for is what I just said, I've alluded to in previous calls. What Trump thumbing his nose at the justice system does to people like me. And I mean like me, and here it goes, here's the spiel, ex-cons. I did 10 years in TDC for a bunch of trumped-up BS. It's what opened my eyes to the justice system and to reality, and it really changed my life completely. There's two me's. I don't want to say there's two Richards. There's one before the nightmare and the one after. Yeah. But it doesn't matter whether it was trumped-up crap or not that you went and did time for. The fact that you did time and this MF thumbs his nose at the justice system. What do you think and going to let all these other criminals out for the insurrection? What it says to people like me that's actually done time. It's not about doing right or wrong. It's who you know and how much money you have. Sadly. And it's a shame. But just the people that have gone through the justice system and watched this guy do his grin and evidently assume correctly, that he is above the law. If I ever hear somebody say again, nobody's above the law, I'm going to go into convulsions because it's obviously just not true. Yeah. But it's 30 years ago, this December 19th, 30 years ago, I had a landscape business, and I had an employee stealing from me, and I beat the shit out of him, and I shouldn't have. But I didn't hurt him.
Sorry, Richard, you can't use language like that on the air, but I'll let you finish your story here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, I took a plea bargain against my better judgment. He was an informant for Harris County deputy sheriffs, and so a bunch of trumped up. That's what they do. I'm going to this, and this. If we drop this, then
I've been there, done that. Yeah.
Right, and so I did, and then a few months I got a 3-year deferred adjudication, and a few months later I was in a car wreck, and this lady was killed, and she was the wife of a high-ranking Harris County deputy sheriff. Vice president of Harris County Deputy Sheriff's Organization. So on paper, I look like a scumbag, but so I get that, And so they revoked me and gave me the 10 years. I did 2 years and 2 weeks and 6 days locked up. But the silver lining was I had my employer at the time, my best friend now, and he and I used to argue all the time about what a racist I was. Being born and raised in Conroe in the 50s and 60s, that's my excuse. Yeah. But anyway, he says, now you know what it's like to be black, don't you? And that's the old Richard, and now I'm the new Richard. But I have gotten I've garnered something positive out of it. But the reason
Richard, I'm sorry, I'm out of time. I got to run.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
What a story, huh? It's 46 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Steve in Portland, Oregon. Hey, Steve, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Just fine.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you both times, yes.
Okay, great, Tom. Hey, first of all, it's an honor to be talking to you. I'm a lifelong Oregonian and a big fan of yours in your home state. Yeah, okay. The question I had for you, Tom, is are you familiar? There's a Republican at this moment who lost an election. His name is Jefferson Griffin in North Carolina to a woman named Allison Riggs. And he is now suing to try to get 60,000 voters, basically to deny that their votes were real and that they were qualified voters and get their votes.
Yeah, I saw that story. I forget where I saw. I didn't read all the details, but I saw the headline.
Okay. What I was wondering about is, are you familiar with Greg Palast, the journalist, and his documentary Vigilantes, Inc., that covers the concept of the voters that showed up to vote and their votes were denied based on the fact that their votes were challenged and they were considered to be false voters?
I am very familiar with it, Steve. I helped Greg make that movie. I flew down to Los Angeles for the opening night. Greg's been on this program a whole bunch of times. I hooked Greg up with George DiCaprio, and he helped fund the movie and also made it available for free. Greg was originally going to, sell access to it, and now the movie is circulating among Democrats in Congress. So yeah, and Greg is an old friend. In fact, Greg spent almost a week staying in our house here just a month or two ago.
That is so awesome. One last question I have, Tom. Greg is now claiming that close to 2 million voters were denied the opportunity to vote in this last election. Correct. Between Kamala and why aren't people talking about that? Why isn't the media talking about that? Why
the media, because it's all been done legally. That's the problem. Is even though our Constitution has the phrase "right to vote" in it in several different places, I believe 4. Even though in 1993 the National Voter Registration Act, the NVRA, also known as the Motor Voter Act, was passed, which says both in its preamble and in the actual black letter law that every American has a right to vote, which should mean, the Supreme Court has ruled that you have a right to own a gun, right? So if Oregon wants to take away your gun or my gun, Steve, they have to go to court and prove that there's a reason to do so. But with your vote, the Supreme Court ruled that in 2000, in the Bush v. Gore case, when they wanted to hand the election to George Bush, they ruled that, no, you don't have a right to vote. And the states could take away your vote, which is what Jeb Bush had done to 90,000 black people just, in the weeks before the election in Florida in 2000. And that's how we got George as president. 5 Republicans on the Supreme Court said, no, you don't have a right to vote. Even though the law says that, even though the Constitution says that, we are the supreme law of the land. We say this. And so all of these voter suppression efforts that are happening all over the country, while they are morally and, in my mind, constitutionally crimes, according to 5 Republicans on the Supreme Court, they are perfectly legal, and that's how they get away with this stuff. Steve, I got to run, but thank you. Keep following Greg's work. GregPalast.com is his website. He's got a newsletter there you can sign up for. It's free. And thanks for the call. Appreciate it. It's 10 minutes before the hour. I'll be back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stay tuned. From all of us here on the Thom Hartmann Program to all of you, happy holidays, and thanks for listening.
At the North Pole, there's a man with a list, checking it twice, seeing who he'll assist. Santa's been listening, the words getting clear. He tunes to Thom Hartmann this time every year. Does Santa Claus listen to the Thom Hartmann Show? He's learned about democracy and all we should know. When leaders are dirty, the coal starts to flow. Does Santa Claus listen to the Thom Hartmann Show?
Well, I hope so. It's 52 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. It's Anything Goes Friday. What's on your mind? Just a reminder, Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, will be with us, internet gods willing, for the entire next hour. Sean in Stamford, Connecticut. Hey, Sean, what's on your mind today?
I know how I can follow that song, and that's amazing.
What's up?
Okay. I actually want to recommend a TV series. Mm-hmm. It was a remake from 2009 of a show called V. Stars Maria Baccarin, Laura Vandervoort, Morris Chestnut, and Elizabeth Mitchell from Lost. And the show basically follows the original series from the 1980s, but is more into its politics, the church, the media, and the naivete of the public. It's
really? V like as in V for Vendetta?
Today. I'm sorry?
Is this V like V for Vendetta?
Yes, it is.
Huh. Interesting. And
it's really interesting because I rewatched it recently, and you could see the parallels, how the main character is very Trump-like, except she's very charismatic, which Trump is not.
Well, I think actually Trump is for his followers anyway. I mean, he doesn't appeal to me, but he's certainly more articulate than Joe Biden, which is a real tragedy because Joe Biden's been such a good president.
Well, I would date that if you saw the show, you would see what a real charismatic leader would look like, and she's also very intelligent, which Trump is not.
So where were you watching this, Sean? Where can I find it?
Oh, I actually have it on DVD at home, but I'm sure you could find it online.
Yeah.
But it's 23 episodes over 2 seasons, and it's highly recommended. It's really good.
I'll check it out this weekend. Sean, thank you for the heads up. I appreciate it. Dan in Oxford, Alabama. Hey, Dan, what's on your mind today?
Morning, Tom.
Morning.
If I may, I'm going to make your Friday here. Let me paint an image in your mind for just a moment. Do you remember the late comedian Foster Brooks?
I do. He played the drunk on the old Jackie Gleason show.
Yeah, he was a fantastic talent. Can you, in your mind, imagine Foster Brooks being Secretary of Defense calling a joint meeting of the Joint Chiefs of Staff?
Oh, would I love to see that? As television.
We may very well get that.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, Foster Brooks passed away a long, long time ago, but I think this is the thing that spooks the Republican senators who are going to be making this decision. Clearly Joni Ernst at the top of that list, probably more than anything else, is the chance that China could invade Taiwan or Russia could do something to Poland or whatever, and 3 o'clock in the morning, a phone call comes in, and the guy who's in charge of the nuclear, the chain of command, the Secretary of Defense, is drunk. And they're willing to allow, they don't have a problem with the rapists. Obviously you've got one in the White House, or you will have one in the White House in January. But drunks, alcoholics, and I realize there's a slight difference between the two. They do have apparently a problem with. That's a good one, Dan. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I haven't even thought of Foster Brooks in a lot of years, but he apparently was just a really, not just a brilliant actor, a very decent man too. I remember the obituaries when he died. Dan, thanks for that. Diane in Lansing, Michigan. Hey, Diane, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Well, I was just wondering if you think Nikita Khrushchev finally won the Cold War in 2024?
I think we're getting damn close.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the quote right here, and he says, "We do not have to invade the United States. We will destroy you from within."
That's correct. That's correct. And,
so I think we're getting there. And the people in mainstream media do not realize that. And they're just all hair on fire with everything, and they can't figure it out.
I think some of them do realize it, but I just don't know. I'm increasingly, when I'm looking for news on television, when I want opinion, of course, I go to Free Speech TV. But when I'm looking for news, I've kind of in the mornings given up on MSNBC and even CNN. It's just so much pablum. I've been watching News Nation. At least they're doing a reasonable job of just kind of straight news. But and Dan Abrams is a reasonable guy. Well,
I watch
I don't know.
Stephanie Miller, and then Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's it.
That's a good opinion programming with a lot of news in it. And God bless you, Diane. Thank you. Good talking to you. I appreciate the call. Up next, Congressman Ro Khanna will be taking your calls for the hour. If you're still on hold, if you'd like to speak to Congressman Khanna, stay there. If not, hang up and call back in an hour. And He's the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, a guy who really knows what he's doing and is very, very wired in. He's one of our real rising stars on the left. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
In addition to bringing you the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV and Video Media Online, we also have a whole set of ways you can interact with us and tools you can use to spread the word about the importance of democracy and the threats to it in our republic. First, there's your daily homework. Sue Nethercutt puts together a daily email newsletter that has a link to every story I discuss on the air, so you can find my sources and you can share them with your friends. It's free and you can sign up at thomhartmann.com. Second, I publish my daily take every day over at the HartmannReport.com website. That's also free if you want the daily 5 days a week rant in your inbox. No ads either. Third, we have the podcasts. There's the free 1-hour version of our daily show that's advertising supported. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts normally. And then there's also the podcast of the entire 3-hour show with no advertisements, and that's available by subscription over at thomhartmann.com. So check them all out at thomhartmann.com and hartmannreport.com. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosanali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac and Tiana in Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. We believe that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. That our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger. Leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got, after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us. That's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome to the second hour of our program. On the line with us, Congressman Ro Khanna. He represents the 17th District of California in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. His website is khanna.house.gov, K-H-A-N-N-A, and his Blue Sky account is at Rep Ro Khanna. REPROKHANNA. Congressman, welcome back to the program. What's on your mind this morning?
Thanks, Tom. We had our new Progressive Caucus elections. I am vice chair again, but I'm very excited about Greg Kazar, who's going to be our chair, and Ilhan Omar. So we'll have new leadership. Pramila Jayapal, of course, will continue to be very involved. And the one place where I made a little bit of news this week is just saying I'm happy to work with Musk and Ramaswamy if they want to cut the defense contractor industrial complex waste. And Bernie's been saying the same thing. I mean, the Truman Commission did that. I rather they focus on the excesses of defense contractors than try to touch the CFPB or Social Security or Department of Education, Medicare. Of course, I will oppose cuts there with every fiber of my being, but on defense contractors, we can find common ground.
Are you not concerned about legitimizing what they're doing?
Look, that's a legitimate concern from folks. My sense is they've got the legitimacy in terms of millions of people who elected Donald Trump, and the question is, where are they going to focus? And we have an opportunity to get them to focus on the actual place where discretionary spending is high, and that's the Department of Defense.
Yeah, it makes a good point. The fellow that you mentioned who just got elected as the new chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Greg, I know nothing about this guy. And is Ilhan Omar a co-chair, or is she going to be a vice chair as well?
She's the kind of deputy. I forget her exact title, but basically she's the number 2.
Okay.
And Chuy Garcia is the number 3. And then they're not 10 of us are vice chairs. And I've been a vice chair since I've been on the executive board for my 5th term, and so I will continue to be very involved, as will Mark Buchanan.
So tell us about Greg.
He's fantastic. He's you should have him on. I'll encourage him to do your show.
Please do so.
He's young. He's in his 30s, mid 30s. He's a second term from Texas, but he's very pro-labor. He really came with a track record in Texas. He used to be on the city council. I think of San Antonio, though I could forget the city. Working with labor, very strongly pro-union, strong progressive, and the key is going to be that he's got to, in my view, be as effective in wielding power as Pramila was. She was incredibly effective in getting progressive priorities on board, and build his media profile. I mean, I think we need progressive voices speaking out for the country.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's great. Okay, is there anything else you wanted to share with people, or thoughts on this day, or shall we just start picking up phone calls here?
Let's go to the calls. I mean, there's so much we have to oppose that it'll take me the whole hour.
I totally get it. Okay, Robert in Atlanta, Georgia. You are listening on Sirius XM. You are on the air with Congressman Ro Khanna.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Ro. I just wanted to run an idea by you, see what you thought. I was thinking, as long as everybody's talking and in part and frame of mind, what would you think of, other than it being a gigantic monkey wrench in the works for Trump and Stephen Miller, what would you think of Biden granting amnesty to all the undocumented in the country on his way out, including the Dreamers?
Whoa.
I probably wouldn't. I think that'd be too far. I mean, personally, I've called for abandoning the pardon power. I think that's a relic of kings. I don't think that the Democratic Party should be supporting the pardon power. And to the extent it should be a pardon power, it should have strict guardrails on it and an independent board, maybe to recommend pardoning people of marijuana possession in this country or drug possession and are still locked up for decades. But I think with immigration, look, we have to make the case as a Democratic Party that the immigrants who come here to pick crops, to be in meatpacking, that they're paying taxes, that they're contributing, that there should be a path to citizenship, that there should be a way for people to come here, work here, and go back, that NAFTA actually helped destroy the immigration system because it's so hollowed out, not just the working class here, but the working class in Mexico. That's when you saw the spike in immigration. So I think we have to make the political case and build support for it, which we can, because I still believe it's a kind, fair, decent country. And I think it would be a mistake. You would have such opposition if the president did something like that with pardon power.
I remember when Jimmy Carter pardoned all of the people who had left the country during the Vietnam War period. One of them was a friend of mine. That was a big deal. And he did this kind of blanket pardon. Would it be possible for President Biden to do that for the Dreamers? That's about 800,000 people, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. These are all
the Dreamers, maybe. I mean, that's something. I mean, we've been fighting so hard to get them status, and it's, as you know, Tom, that's outrageous what they have to go through. $600 every 2 years, refile, and of course, it only applies for people who came here by 2007. So the time limit is running out. Also for people who are new Dreamers. So it's really, it'd be something that would be a better use of the power. But overall, I've just been critical of the pardon power in and of itself.
Yeah, no, I get that. But it's there. So anyhow, Al in Buffalo, New York, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
How you doing, Congressman? I just want to ask you, actually, it's kind of a comment. Anyways, The rancid sector of the far left, I have to say, please stop your grousing. Compared to you, Eeyore sounds like a Teletubby. If I gave you a pony, you would not only be furious that everyone doesn't have a pony, but you would pick on the pony for not being radical enough. Sir, this is not going to win his elections. If we start going to the extreme left, and we start allowing our unreasonable expectations to become our worst nightmare, we're going to end up with Trump. The extreme left, you, Tom.
Give me one policy position that you think is extreme left.
MSNBC, going after MSNBC.
Hold on just a second, Al. Hold on. Give me one policy position that you consider to be extreme left.
Okay, the whole thing with the gender, and all that, the cultural issues are killing us, Tom. Okay. How are we going to get to the center? How are we going to get people to the middle again? Talking about allowing people amnesty to come here illegally? I know that's a good idea, but that does not win elections, sir.
Okay. Congressman?
Well, first of all, thanks for calling in and expressing your view. I don't think the traditional left-right is the way to look at politics, and I'll answer in specifics on the transgender issue, but the way to look at it is that you've had, for 50 years, corporations raiding, the corporate raiders bankrupting these companies, selling off, liquidating assets, having jobs being lost, politicians selling jobs offshore, basically, for cheap wages, and community after community hollowed out, working and middle-class folks hollowed out, all of the profits accruing largely to the top. And our party needs to be against the unholy alliance of wealth and power and for a major economic transformation that restores the economic security and stability to communities that have been hollowed out into the working and middle class. You could call it left, right, but I think that can be the Democratic Party's mantra to tackle this inequality that has existed in the modern economy. And we should not be afraid to speak to our values on issues of LGBTQ or transgender rights. We can say, look, this is a country where we value faith and the dignity of people. We value the dignity of a person to pursue happiness in the way they know how. We don't like people who punch down. We don't like people who are cruel, and we're going to stand up for transgender rights. That doesn't mean that we don't understand that it's something that many Americans are unfamiliar with and that we're going to sort of judge people who may have legitimate concerns about safety or about competitiveness standards when you get to elite athletes, but we can all agree that we should recognize the dignity of people in this country, regardless of their gender and sexual orientation.
Yeah, I would point out to Al, what happened to Republicans' concern about big government, nanny state? So now suddenly they want to tell people, and their doctors what they can do. Families, parents, and what they can do with their kids, what they can do with themselves. It's just the nanny state here has just exploded. I mean, they want to tell women whether or not they can get abortions. I mean, this is not anything that I think any Republicans 20 years ago or 10 years ago would recognize. It's mind-boggling to me. And Kamala Harris never even mentioned the word transgender in her entire campaign, not once.
And the polling shows, the data shows afterwards that the quote-unquote transgender ad was not nearly as effective as the economic ads because a lot of Republicans felt it was punching down, that it was sort of unnecessarily cruel, even if they may have agreed with some of the policy. That's not what Donald Trump the election.
Thom Hartmann Program.
The economy.
There you go. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Congressman Ro Khanna in just a moment. 16 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Joe in Cupertino, California, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, Tom, that sentiment of that caller you had last hour from the gentleman, the ex-comment, I could really relate to that sentiment.
Joe, I'm having a really hard time understanding you. Could you please put the microphone right near your mouth?
Yes, I'm sorry. Anyway, Congressman, I'm hearing rumors that you might, there's some shuffling of the deck chairs in the Democratic Party and that you're considering a position at leadership. I thought you'd you'd be an excellent candidate for that position. Oversight is something that you have been very strong about, and I think if you would just consider it, I would feel a lot better. Do you have a strong opinion on that?
Well, I appreciate that. I am, putting myself in position on the China Select Committee. I've really been focused on manufacturing and building our industrial base, and been very critical of the World Trade Organization and what led to the hollowing out of our industrial base. And so I think that there's going to likely be an opening there coming up. And that's where my focus is. But we've got a generational change. I mean, AOC, who's done an effective job, is going to run for that oversight committee against Gerald Connolly, who's also effective in different ways. But, I'm supporting AOC, and let's see if the progressives start to be in power in some of these key committees.
Patrick, in Branchland, West Virginia, you are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. I'd like to say you all have a good day. My number one thing is that we got to stop letting Republicans control the narrative. We have let them dictate and control the narrative with the transgender thing, and they just beat people over the head with it. All right, so my question is, though, do you really think that the Republicans are going to stand up to Trump? Do you really think they're going to stand up to him and force him? Because look at what Mitch McConnell's done. He is already talking about getting the court system. People need to understand that when you elect the president, you elect judges.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
I don't think they're going to stand up to Trump. If they haven't stood up to him even on this defense nominee who has allegations of sexual assault, police reports about it, and there's still senators are meeting with him and considering him. So, no, I think it's going to be a large deference to Trump. On the narrative, I would just say two things. One, I don't think we lost the election because of that. I think we lost the election because we weren't the candidate of party of change. We didn't take a strong enough view of feeling people's anger and the system and offering bold, tangible economic relief in their lives. And remember when John Kerry lost in 2004, everyone was saying, well, the reason he lost was because of gay marriage. And, they didn't even let Gavin Newsom speak at the convention then because of that. And then by 2008, you had this person, Barack Obama, who came, and gay marriage really wasn't even an issue in 2008. And by 2012, you had Obama supporting gay marriage. So I would be reluctant to think that what defined the 2024 election cycle is going to define the 26 or 28 election cycle.
Yeah, and I think 26 is going to be a big deal. Congressman Ro Khanna with us for the hour, taking your calls. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Stay tuned. You can find his website at khanna.house.gov. You can find him over on Blue Sky at Rep Ro Khanna. We'll be right back. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. America is suffering from an epidemic of bullying. And one of the things we know is that culture, including bullying, flows from the top down. We've seen studies where when issues of for example, being gay or transgender are being debated in the public, gay and transgender kids in school are more likely to be bullied. When racial issues are being discussed, people of minority races are more likely to be bullied. Well, now we've got a man who has literally built his career on being a bully, Donald Trump, as president, or was president, as candidate. And he is driving this insane bullying campaign and using it as a political weapon across the United States. And it's contagious. It's dangerous. There's an entire article about it over at HartmannReport.com titled America's New Epidemic, A Nation Overrun by Bullies. Check it out.
It started with Reagan's mighty pen, struck down the rules and let the money in. The fairness doctrine went down in flames, and billionaires started playing the games. Clinton signed the Telecom Act, the right-wing stations were all intact. They brought up the airwaves coast to coast, and put on the voices they loved the most. Radio silence, where did the progressives go? The airwaves filled with hate, but nobody seemed to know.
Welcome back. 22 minutes past the hour. Picking up your calls here with Congressman Ro Khanna for our National Progressive Townhall meeting with the Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Tim in Shelby Township, Michigan. Listening on Sirius XM, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, gentlemen. All the best to you and your families for this holiday season, and let's hope for a new offensive for fighting the Trumps. But anyway, if you remember, Representative, I called you on Tom's show just after President Biden was inaugurated, and I brought up the fireside chats of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You said it was a great idea, but naturally nothing happened. Whatever reason, President Biden was a great president and a lousy communicator. We have so many great communicators in the Democratic Party. Some are going to be without jobs shortly, thinking of Pete Buttigieg, Jennifer Granholm. Why doesn't the Democratic Party put on a weekly show or just a telecommunication pointing out what's Trump's doing wrong and what the Democrats will do right?
Well, I thought your summary on the president was wonderful. A great president, but not a great communicator. I think that really sums up Biden. And unfortunately, in a modern presidency, you need to do both. Or probably, even if you go back in history, you need both. And I agree with you. Pete Buttigieg, Jennifer Granholm, Josh Shapiro, Andy Beshear, Wes Moore, Whitmer. We've got a lot of talented communicators. We've got to figure out the forums for doing it. I don't think a weekly radio or something would break through, or fireside chat would break through with a non-president. But what I had a call with Andy Beshear, and what I was saying to him is, why don't we get some of these next generation leaders doing fireside chats, town halls, meetings in the swing states about our economic vision, about our new ideas. Pete Buttigieg should be part of that, to showcase that the Democratic Party is a party on the move with new dynamism, new ideas, new leaders. And I think we're going to have to do that to break through.
Amen. Ed in Chicago, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yeah, hey, quickly, please inform the new caucus, Progressive Caucus chairman and everyone in the Democratic Party about Tom's show on Free Speech TV. I have yet to speak to a congressional aide who knows of the existence of Free Speech TV, and I'm talking about members of the Progressive Caucus. But my question is there any way to get the Democratic Party to pound the issue of the number of women who are pregnant due to rape from now into the midterms? During the past run-up into the elections, no issue came close to eliciting the response from people as the fact that there are over 26,000 women who are pregnant due to rape. That's
in Texas, just in Texas.
People.
Yeah, who can't get abortions.
That just floored people. Yeah. So from now into the midterms, hopefully we'll have midterms, but from now into the midterms, can you get every Democrat, when they go on a show, to borrow a talking point for Republicans? When you ask them what's their shoe size, they'll give you a tough talking point to answer. So the next time you're on Face the Nation, when Margaret asks you a question, I would like you to say, yeah, Margaret, I'll be happy to answer that question. But first, as of today, there are this many number of women in our country are pregnant due to rape.
Let's get the answer here, Ed.
Well, look, I agree with you. That's a shocking and appalling statistic, but we absolutely need to mention 26,000 women. I'll get the correct if it's Texas or around the country were pregnant due to rape, and many of the Republicans in our Congress want to take away their right to be able to get an abortion, including the policy of what J.D. Vance ran on when he ran for Senate. No exceptions was the policy he had adopted. In terms of Tom's show, look, go blue in the face telling my colleagues that when I go out campaigning, when I was out around the country for Bernie Sanders, when I'm out around for Biden or Harris, I always meet people who say, I heard you on Thom Hartmann. It's the most consistent thing I get. It's something that I get Breaking Points and other of the new podcasts and
You're
shows.
listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Thank you, sir.
Be better at engaging.
There you go. Thank you very much. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls. We'll be right back. Big news. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosanali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington D.C., Mac in Tiana and Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. We believe that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. That our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger. Leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got, after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us, that's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. Our podcast, The Hartmann Report, is absolutely free and available wherever fine podcasts are available. And the entire 3-hour podcast is available over at thomhartmann.com. Back in 2010, when Viktor Orban took over the Fidesz party in Hungary, that party was sort of like the Republican Party. It was just a conventional conservative European political party. And he has turned it into a neo-fascist powerhouse. He pushed through he altered the nation's constitution to push through what we would call gerrymandering and voter suppression so that his party will always win. He campaigned on building a wall. Build a wall was literally one of his campaign slogans, and he did build a wall across the southern border of Hungary to keep out Syrian refugees who were fleeing the violence when Russia was bombing that country. His other two campaign slogans were, and I quote, "Restore Christian purity and make Hungary great again." Seriously, back in 2010, 6 years before Trump. There's an amazing backstory about how Viktor Orban is being cloned, essentially, in the GOP. You can find the article over at HartmannReport.com. Check it out.
Every time I vote, I get so mad. The billionaires are laughing, it's so sad. They bought the laws, they bought the game, and now they're selling us all shame. All I want for Christmas is my democracy back, my democracy back, my democracy back, back from the billionaires and the sleazy pack. Oh, please give me my democracy back.
Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, taking your calls for the hour. Zen in Denver, Colorado. You are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to talk a little bit regarding the medical industrial complex, including the VA and their increasingly serious problems and even bullying. And they're legally getting away with it, and it's only getting worse. And advocating for yourself in healthcare is no longer a norm and can be dangerous, with patients being retaliated against and obstructed from future care throughout the state and elsewhere, with lies and omissions that can permanently obstruct a patient from their care due to public entity and federal entity laws. Over 300,000 deaths occur due to medical negligence.
So what's your question, Zen?
Well, I wanted to bring up these public entity and federal entity laws.
Okay, I think you did that. Congressman, you want to comment?
Well, Zen, first of all, thank you for your service to the country as a veteran. Look, understand the frustrations that veterans face at VAs. It's partly because we have not provided enough funding to our VA hospital systems. We don't have enough doctors and nurses often there, and we've got to make sure that we have more medical professionals, that that people are able to go to the VA to get all of their problems addressed and not be referred out of the VA network. But I look forward to hearing from you, and you should talk to your member of Congress about what we can do specifically to improve the VA.
Stu in Golden, Colorado. You're on the air with Representative Khanna. Stu?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for taking my call. And I was going to ask this question, Tom, but the congressman would be an interesting viewpoint as well. It's a comment and a question. In the Reagan era, they brought forth the trickle-down economics theory, where if you make rich people richer, they'll spend their money and it'll be good for America. Everybody will get paid more, and it'll be a win-win for everyone. And now we have a situation where 1% have more money than the 99% combined. So it doesn't seem to be trickling down. It doesn't seem to be dripping down. And when the money does not trickle down, then it doesn't get spent at the municipality
Stu, what's your
level.
question for the congressman?
Is there anything? What's his viewpoint about this 1% have more money than the 99%? And is there anything Congress thinks can be done about that, or do they think it's an issue?
Thank you.
Sure. This should be the top mission of the Democratic Party, to confront inequality in a modern economy. We have gone from 53rd in the 1980s in the world in income inequality to 128 today. Most Western democracies are in the 30s. China is at 77. You have $12 trillion of wealth in my district, Google, Apple, Tesla, NVIDIA, and you have had high school graduate wages decline over the last 50 years by 22%. We need to strengthen unions. We need to increase the minimum wage. We need to make sure that we're ending stock buybacks. We need to make sure that we're ending the corporate rating of CEOs that are liquidating assets at the expense of the working class. We need to make sure that we are building new factories and new jobs in communities that have been hollowed out. But this should be, I call it a new economic deal. The heart and soul of the Democratic Party should be tackling inequality, just like the heart and soul of the Republican Party is tax cuts.
Corrine in Minneapolis. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna. Or is it Corin?
Thank you for taking my call. I am starting to see reporters putting forth the idea that there must be cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Now, they of course should not be offering opinions if they're giving the news, but I want Democrats to make sure that the message starts getting out that just because Elon Musk says cut Social Security and these others, that does not mean that's what's going to happen. And Democrats sometimes are slow. A message will get out and it will get started, and it's time before the Democrats start counteracting it. This week, 2 reporters, and I write these down because I often send a letter directly to the reporter. A reporter on NBC and a reporter for Punch Bowl appearing on MSNBC both said there will have to be cuts to Social Security, Medicare. Just as though.
So, Corinne, what's your question for the congressman?
Well, is there a way that you can talk to the other Democrats and make sure they start counteracting these things early?
Thank you. Great.
Thank you. I couldn't agree with you more. We should have made a bigger issue of potential Social Security cuts and protecting Social Security in the 2024 campaign. In fact, Vicente Gonzalez, who won a border district, ran on saving Social Security and Medicare. I said, did you talk about the border? He said, no, I won a Trump district by talking about Social Security and Medicare. And we know what would make Social Security solvent and where you could increase Social Security benefits. Scrap the cap, tax people above $250,000 on all of their income on Social Security tax. That would more than shore up Social Security and allow you to have Social Security benefits. And by the way, if you care about the federal deficit, most of that is owed to Americans. It's not owed to, maybe it's less than 10% that is owed to China or Japan or anyone. And so that means that we're basically having Americans, rich Americans, lend to the government. So what is the solution to the deficit? You tax them more. I mean, and that would eliminate a large part of the deficit.
Dave in Federal Washington, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Congressman Khanna, I hope I see you on a presidential ticket someday. But my question is this. I saw a headline saying that China is perhaps going to ban exports of rare earth elements to the United States. I was wondering if you saw that headline or if you have any thoughts on it. Thank you.
Well, it's concerning. It's one of the reasons we need to diversify rare earth metals, minerals, and critical minerals for the United States. We need to be aggressive in realizing that we need to secure the supply chain, not just from China. But it's also why we can't just have a blanket policy of tariffs on everything and try to totally decouple from China. It would be disastrous for our economy and our national security.
Billy in Wimberley, Texas. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, guys. Congressman, you had a liberal call a few minutes ago lamenting the far-left stance that a lot of your ilk is taking these days.
He was actually a conservative, Billy, but go ahead.
He said he was liberal.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I want to ask the congressman, do you support the taxpayer-funded hormone treatments and genital mutilation for children suffering from gender dysphoria?
Well, I don't know where you're getting taxpayer funded. What I support is that we should have gender affirming care for people who have gender dysphoria, and that when you have a case of a minor, they should have to get the consent of their parents, and they should be making those painful, difficult decisions with a doctor. And what we're talking about is less than 1% of individuals. The vast majority of them have private insurance. But if you ask me, because I believe in Medicare for all, should Medicare for all cover gender-affirming care when a doctor is recommending that as a medical condition and a family and patient want that? Yes, it should.
Gabriella in Los Angeles. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, good morning, Tom and Congressman Khanna. I want to ask you about something I heard a few days ago on Randy Rhodes' show, and I want to get your feelings about it and if it's a possible workaround to get the ERA passed before President Biden leaves office. And there's an article on commondreams.org by Julia Conley. The date is December 3rd, 2024. And basically, it's a workaround to get ERA passed now because Virginia in 2020 became the 38th state to ratify it, and that makes the 3/4 of the U.S. legislature.
Right.
And one other thing, according to this, if the NARA, which is the National Archive Records Administration, certifies and publish it into the Federal Register, it can be included as a constitutional amendment, and that would greatly help all civil rights, including LGBTQ, and possibly be something judges can use with the anti-abortion to help women maintain their privacy.
Got it. This is the Equal Rights Amendment we're talking about, Congressman?
I have supported that. I've put out a statement that the president should put this out in the Federal Register and publish it. It has passed both houses of Congress. It has been ratified by the states. I think there's some sense of technicality on the timing of when these states ratified it, but the president should put it out there. And if Trump wants to try to reverse equal rights for women, let him try to do that. But that's not going to go over very well.
There you go. 46 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Representative Khanna in just a moment. You can find his website at khanna.house.gov. You can find him on Blue Sky at Rep Ro Khanna, REPROKHANNA.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back with more of your calls for Representative Ro Khanna. Stay tuned. Tom in Los Angeles, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yeah, Congressman Khanna, I am a proud Franklin Delano Roosevelt Democrat, and I would hope that you and the Congress could start adopting that same language by saying, I, Ro Khanna, am a proud FDR Democrat. I think that it would definitely show people where we stand. The Democrats seem to, I don't know if they're trying to not offend their donors or what, but they seem to chip around the edges to different issues. Like Kamala had great policies when it came to child care, health care, taxes, mortgage. But when you get into the weeds about the $500 here, the $25,000 there, all of a sudden things start to fall apart. Because a regular person like myself that walked doors could not actually communicate that message clearly. So I think we need to have either Medicare for all or Medicare for kids under 14 years old or something like that where it's just nice and clean, simple, and people can actually digest what it is that the message is. And I will add to this, Bernie Sanders, being the independent that he was, who I loved, but you know what? He did not tie himself to the epilogue or to the ending of what FDR talked about. And he did not tie himself to FDR enough, in my opinion.
Okay,
whoever it is
let
that
the
comes
Congressman
along.
respond, Tom. We're running out of time.
Well, I'd love to ask you, Tom, because I call my platform a new economic deal, and some people say, well, that's too close to New Deal. And I said, well, if Trump can steal Reagan's Make America Great Again, why can't Democrats take from Roosevelt's New Deal? But I agree with you as being an FDR Democrat. I agree with you in simplicity. Medicare for all, child care $10 a day, free public college, have 100,000 new machinists, plumbers, and electricians for the skilled trade, raise the minimum wage to $17, give workers a share in their profits with getting stuck. We need to be simple and crisp about what we're going to do.
And here is how FDR talked about things like taxes.
A number of my friends who belong in the very high upper bracket have suggested to me on several occasions of late that if I am reelected president, they will have to move to some other nation because of high taxes here. Now, I will miss them very much.
When are we going to have politicians talking like that, Congressman?
Absolutely. You know, and I don't want to get too wonkish about it, but 93% of American wealth is invested in America. Tom, you know why that is? Because no one wants to put their money in China, in Europe, and Africa. This idea that if we increase taxes on the billionaires, they're going to somehow take their money somewhere else is a total fiction. And FDR knew that. Even back in 1940s, he knew that was an idle bluff. And I often say to folks, if the guy representing the district, which has more billionaires than probably anywhere in the world, can be for taxing them more, and if I've won 5 terms, how is this a hard vote for everyone else? I really, honestly don't understand it, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. It's 51 minutes past the hour. We'll be back in just a moment with more of your calls for Congressman Ro Khanna. Stick around. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us.
We got jobs shipped overseas, left folks out in the cold. Neoliberal promises all turn to fool's gold. Factory shutdowns go dark while billionaires cashing high. They bought our silence for decades while the middle class watched it die. Bring it back home.
Back 52 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour. Larry in Los Angeles, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
I was hoping I'd get the next hour. Anyway.
Well, I can put you on hold and pick you up on the other side.
Okay.
I'll do that. Okay. Thank you, Larry, for that call. James in Hollywood, California. James, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Congressman Khanna, I'm faxing soon-to-be Senator Schiff, still my congressman till Monday, that Schumer must demand all impeachment investigations be made public. The Mueller report must be released unredacted as Mueller intended. The complete January 6th transcripts must be released. Max congressional thing, throw in the Warren Commission. You know the USA is on the precipice of becoming a fascist state, and this is one last chance the Senate has. If you could talk to Schumer and let the American people see if they want fascism, if they want insurrection, or if they want democracy.
Thank you, James. Got it.
Well, thank you, James. Keep the faith, but I agree with you that we need to release transparently all of the investigations and let the American people know what is going on and be prepared to oppose the overreach.
Keno in Lakeland, Florida. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Greetings, Congressman. Democrats have got to communicate with the Republicans. Let's call it the antidote to sycophants or something, but I read in a book that we had gotten past mindless, thoughtless, the citizens should be mindless, thoughtless, obedient servants to an alpha male. We have backslidden, and apparently the Republicans want to be obedient servants to an alpha male. Now, some of them still must have some conscience. Congressman, how do we shame them, or do we talk about groupthink, the danger of groupthink, and there's the importance of constructive criticism? And Solomon in the Bible said, in a multitude of counselors there's safety. For the safety of the nation, we've got to encourage some of these Republicans to stand up. Now, there's a little bit of inkling that some of them have, just a little bit, but do you have any idea for a name of a program to convince the Republicans to not be sycophants and to do their duty to bring safety, like a multitude of counselors for safety's sake to advisors?
And Congressman Keno is a former Republican speaking to you.
Well, as a former Republican, he knows the link in saying that public opinion is everything. And the reality is right now it's theoretical. Right now Trump's approval is still above water because Americans give the new president a benefit of the doubt. But the minute he starts to do things like either cut Social Security or cut Medicare or cut Department of Education programs or funding, which are helping special needs kids or low-income schools, cut food stamps that make people hungry in communities, he will realize how unpopular those things are. He only won by 1.5 points. I'm not dismissing his win, but it was less than what Bush beat Kerry on, and Bush got in there there and wanted to start privatizing Social Security, and that's what did him in. So I believe that the threat to democracy will be recognized when it actually affects people's lives. And as much as it pains me to say that, because I wish the president wouldn't do that, I am unfortunately believe he will. And that's when we've got to get Republicans speaking out again as well.
Congressman, we only have about 35 seconds. I'm curious if you have made an endorsement for the new chair for the DNC. I came out in favor of Ben Wickler a couple days ago, but I understand there's another good progressive out there, too.
You know, I like both Ben and Ken Martin. They're both good. What I've said is I have three key things. No super PAC spending in Democratic primaries, no corporate money to the DNC, which even Obama did, and let's endorse the Maine initiative to regulate money into these super PACs so that you can't have billionaires buying our elections. And if they endorse that, if one of the candidates endorses that, I'll be for that. But I like both of them in terms of their organization.
There you go. Congressman, thanks so much for dropping by today.
Thank you, Tom.
It's always an honor and a pleasure to have you with us, and you do such a great job.
I always love it. You know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon. I'll be back on the other side of this break with Jacob Soboroff of NBC News. He's got a movie coming out this weekend that you're going to want to know about. It's called Separated. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
In addition to bringing you the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV and Video Media Online, we also have a whole set of ways you can interact with us and tools you can use to spread the word about the importance of democracy and the threats to it in our republic. First, there's your daily homework. Sue Nethercutt puts together a daily email newsletter that has a link to every story I discuss on the air, so you can find my sources and you can share them with your friends. It's free and you can sign up at thomhartmann.com. Second, I publish my daily take every day over at the HartmannReport.com website. That's also free if you want the daily 5 days a week rant in your inbox. No ads either. Third, we have the podcasts. There's the free 1-hour version of our daily show that's advertising supported. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts normally. And then there's also the podcast of the entire 3-hour show with no advertisements, and that's available by subscription over at thomhartmann.com. So check them all out at thomhartmann.com and hartmannreport.com. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosanali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine in Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac and Tiana in Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. We believe that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. Will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger, leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV, help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech, and, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us, that's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669.
is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome to the third hour of our program. On the line with us is Jacob Soboroff. He's the political and national correspondent with NBC News, the author of the brilliant book Separated, Inside an American Tragedy. He's been on this program about that book. And the executive producer of a new film by Errol Morris that is airing tomorrow night on MSNBC at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, if I have that right, titled Separated. And Jacob, and also his Blue Sky handle is Jacob Soboroff, SOBOROFF.BSKY.social. Jacob, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Tom.
I thank you for the pre-screen, as it were. I watched the movie last night. It is brilliant. To start out, give us the overview, the 30,000 foot, what this movie is about, and why people will want to take an hour out of their day tomorrow night or evening tomorrow night and watch it.
It's about one of the most shameful chapters in the history of our country, as the Republican-appointed judge who stopped former President Trump, now President-elect Trump's family separation policy the first time around. The deliberate and systematic separation of thousands of children from their parents for no other reason than to harm them. And this was called torture by Physicians for Human Rights, the Nobel Peace Prize winning organization. It was called government-sanctioned child abuse by the American Academy of Pediatrics. And I saw it myself, never seen anything like it. I don't think, at least I hope I never will. It'll go down as something I think we all remember that summer. But really what Errol Morris, the Oscar-winning director whose film this is, has done is create a portrait of something that is a look back, but also a look forward at something that we may very well face again soon.
Yeah, one of the more amazing parts of the movie was the fellow who essentially narrates it, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, that's Jonathan White from the Office of Refugee Resettlement.
Yeah, tell us about him.
He's a really extraordinary individual. Jonathan White is a career civil servant who has dedicated his life, like so many of the people that attempted to stop this policy from taking place once it was being considered in the earliest days of the Trump administration. He fought tooth and nail. I can name a dozen people who stood right by his side and did the same thing, but over the objections of many career officials, unfortunately, as we all know, there'll be 5,500 children with a lifetime of trauma. It would have been far worse were it not for Jonathan White and Jalen Suolog, James De La Cruz, many of the people that you will meet in this film. And the way that Errol Morris uniquely can tell a story like this. You know, he did it with Donald Rumsfeld in The Unknown Known. He did it with Robert McNamara in The Fog of War. He did it going all the way back to The Thin Blue Line when he exonerated Randall Adams in that Dallas murder case. Errol Morris has stepped up here to do something that I could have never done myself. Take this story and put it on a big screen so that it feels so that you can feel the emotional truth of what we all went through at that time. And it's something that, as a world, we all saw, not bipartisan, but universal condemnation of. The Pope spoke out. It was one of the rare policy reversals of the first Trump administration, and that is because of people like the man you asked me about, Jonathan White and his colleagues, who had the best interest of the children at heart, despite the fact there were many people in Washington, D.C. who very clearly did not.
I'm wondering if you had a problem getting these civil servants to speak out in public. I mean, are they concerned about retribution from Trump or probably more specifically Stephen Miller once Trump's back in office?
It certainly wasn't easy, and Errol, will tell you that he spoke to dozens and dozens of people in the production of this movie. Only a fraction of them appear on camera, but people like Kirsten Nielsen, Tom Homan showed up at the studio outside of Boston and then left without doing an interview. But for those that he did get on camera, including and especially the career civil servants, like Jonathan White, who are still in office, I should say, in their positions today, they did this at great risk to their own personal well-being, I would say, their careers with an incoming Trump administration. But they felt, just like they stood up to the policy, that it was important enough to participate in this project. And man, I am so excited I know you've seen it, I'm so excited for everybody to see it tomorrow night on MSNBC.
We're talking with Jacob Soboroff, the political and national correspondent with NBC News, the author of Separated, Inside an American Tragedy, and the executive producer of this extraordinary new film that is going to be playing or airing tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific on MSNBC, Separated. Jacob, I have read conflicting reports, and I don't know what the actual truth is here, and I'm guessing that you do, on whether the Trump administration is planning on reinstating their child separation policy or not. I've heard that Stephen Miller is advocating for it, and I've heard that other people are saying no way, it was a mistake. What can we expect?
I learned that when they say something, to believe them. And what they have said is they're going to institute the largest mass deportation policy in the history of the country. And mass deportation is family separation by another name. Mass deportation is not separating children from their parents at the border, but it's certainly separating parents from their children in the interior of the country, in their schools, in their places of work, and in their homes. And so, maybe they don't go run back the exact same policy proposal, but what they are saying they are going to do, what I saw with my own eyes on the floor of the convention, a mass deportation policy proposal. You saw those signs, mass deportation, now that they were all holding up there at the conventions. That is family separation.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Tell me about the resistance. Obviously, there was resistance within the Trump administration, and of course, outside of it too. But you have Mr. White and others who were resisting this with everything they had inside the Trump administration last time around. What can we expect this time around? There's this Schedule F. There's this wholesale house clearing that Trump and now Musk are talking about. Will there be guardrails? Will there be constraints? How can the average citizen stand up and resist against policies if and when they become brutal like these were?
This is a difficult story to watch and to relive, but it's also, in a way, Tom, very inspiring because of the way that people around the world stood up. It wasn't some kind of bipartisan condemnation with this or that leader on Capitol Hill locking arms saying we're Democrats and Republicans. It was a universal condemnation of people around the globe. Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets and stood up and spoke out. The Pope spoke out, if you remember. It was one of the rare policy reversals, maybe the only policy reversal that we've ever seen from the first Trump administration in this regard. And I think what the film does is it gives people a reminder that that's possible. There's a lot of people who are choosing to tune out, who don't want to pay attention right now, who feel like there's too much going on. But what this film will be an important reminder of, maybe a critical one, is that it was the power of the people that stopped the family separation policy from going into place, not because it was about politics, but because it was about humanity. It was about a moral compass that we all share, that for this brief period in time, we all saw basically X-ray vision to the immigration system, what it does to people, especially children. And I should point out, a system that has been put into place and perpetuated for years by Democratic and Republican administrations, only taken to an extreme by the Trump administration in the last term.
Right, and they're talking about doing it again, as you point out, with a different name. Brilliant. Jacob Soboroff, the correspondent for NBC News, author of Separated, Inside an American Tragedy. The movie is playing tomorrow night. It's an hour long, 9 p.m., December 7th. And
I'd encourage everybody, Tom, sorry to interrupt you, I'd encourage everybody to tune in a little bit early. My dear friend and colleague Rachel Maddow is going to come on the air with Ayman Moyadeen and his program, which starts in the 7 p.m. Eastern hour, for a special report ahead of the film. And you're not going to want to miss that either.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Jacob. Thanks for the reminder. Check it out tomorrow night. And Jacob, thank you for dropping by today.
Thanks again.
Good talking with you. I'll be back with your calls in just a moment. It's Anything Goes Friday. And welcome back. Jeff in Portland, Oregon. Hey, Jeff, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Happy Friday. Thanks for another great program and the excellent town hall with Congressman Khanna. I hope he'll use these town halls as a springboard to a presidential campaign, just as Bernie did after, 10 or 11 years of brunches with Bernie.
I suspect he has that on his mind.
It sounds like it.
He's invested a lot of time and effort in the program, and it did work well for Bernie.
And exactly. And I know Ro won't lose his strong progressive economic messaging. And that's kind of what happened with the Harris campaign. The Lever had a good post yesterday about how they never talked about all the great work that Lena Khan has done as FTC chair for the last 4 years. And the piece actually says that Biden can appoint her to another 7-year term as an FTC commissioner. Trump won't keep her as the chair, obviously, but she could serve another 7 years as a commissioner, so Biden should definitely do that.
I agree.
And Tom, referring to your opening comments about the risk of another pandemic, what do you think, and I had to kind of formulate these thoughts pretty quick, but because I was going to talk to Ro about the DNC thing, which is what you brought up, which I was glad to hear. But what do you think about two separate charm offenses that we could do concerning the threat of another pandemic? Elon Musk tweeting about or whatever, saving, wanting to get more for our money from healthcare. Well, we could save $650 billion a year with Medicare for all. So I think we should do a charm offensive on Elon Musk to undertake that. And the other one would be with Trump. I like many others are reluctant to give him any credit. For his complete mishandling of the pandemic, and there's no getting around that. I think it was criminally negligent how hundreds of thousands of people died unnecessarily under his watch. But he did do that vaccine. Warp Speed, that Operation Warp Speed, which I think it helped create the Moderna vaccine, not the Pfizer one. But why don't we try, giving him credit for that, and maybe he'll get rid of the anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. What were your thoughts? He is very susceptible to flattery. What do you think?
He's already repudiated that, and I don't think he's vulnerable to flattery from people that he considers his enemies. He just views that as he's successfully alpha dogged them, and now they're cowing in front of him rather than influencing him. You just have to think of him as a schoolyard bully, which is what he is. And you kind of once you understand that psychology, I don't think there's anything that we can say that will influence Trump one way or the other. Anybody on the left, and he's going to do what he's going to do, it's going to be up to the Republicans in the United States Senate to keep Bob Kennedy out. And that's assuming that they don't roll over and give him recess appointments, which is still a possibility. So we'll see.
Yeah, but, and given your comments, it really is a scary scenario more than in the immediate future.
Yep, and we need to get ready for a rough 4 years, but we need to be in the fight. Jeff, thank you for the call. We'll be back. It's 19 minutes past the hour. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com.
Wake up with the sunrise, feeling so alive. Turn that radio on, let your spirit fly. You got a thought.
Welcome back, 19 minutes past the hour. Picking up your calls here on Anything Goes Friday. Carol in Seattle. Hey, Carol, what's up?
Hi. Hey, Tom. Hey, I was wondering, what about how do we get ranked choice voting done and then, basically finally represent everyone? And also, I think simultaneously that's going to break up the two-party stranglehold. but I think everyone's too afraid to mess with it. And it's like, I know you want to get inside the party, but anyway, what say you?
Well, I think we do need Democrats inside the Democratic Party who will advocate for ranked choice voting. There's over 200 towns, counties, municipalities, whatever, that have it already, largely as a result of the efforts of the Green Party back in the 90s, the 80s and 90s, before the Jill Stein era, when she just completely corrupted the party. By all means. In fact, Alaska, got ranked choice voting, and it's one of the reasons that they have a fairly reasonable member of Congress. We got ranked choice voting here in Portland for the first time this last election. The ballots that Louise and I filled out a couple of weeks ago, for the November election were ranked choice voting, and it was kind of cool. In fact, it was great. So I'm with you. And the main opposition to ranked choice voting is coming from both political parties. It's coming from the Democrats and the Republicans. And that's why we have to get in surprise. Yeah, we need to get inside the parties and influence them. Carol, thanks for the call. Dave in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hey, Tom. When that Hegseth first started out, when he was diminishing and demeaning the women soldiers and stuff, let me read you something from an archive I had from about women in the war zone. And it came out; these facts came out in May of 2012 from Army Times. 135,000, the number of female soldiers who had deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. 400 was valor awards they had earned in both theaters of operations, to include 2 Silver Stars, our nation's third highest award. 77 was women in combat arms, the infantry or armor specialties that had been killed in action. So remember, this was 12 years ago when Hegseth, I believe he was over in Afghanistan in 2012, so he should have known better on that. He's
just a pig. I mean, he's a male chauvinist pig. He thinks that women are basically, sexual playthings or mommy. And basically, shouldn't have. Apparently, he believes they shouldn't have. Certainly, he doesn't think they should be in combat. I'm assuming that, although I may be wrong, but I'm assuming that his opinion extends to other areas as well. So, we'll see. I think Hegseth is going down in flames, and I think it's real likely that you're going to see. Trump and Ron DeSantis are getting together on Sunday, and so.
Hey, Tom, would you like to see somebody from one of them old units of him do a vote on him like they did to John Kerry back in 2004?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be necessary, Dave. But although if he continues, if this nomination of Hegseth continues beyond Tuesday of next week, I suspect you're going to start seeing stuff just like that. Dave, thanks for the call. Susan in Caldwell, Idaho. Hey, Susan, what's on your mind today?
Well, I was hoping to get the congressman, but you'll do, let me tell you.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, why am I not hearing more, like, from the congressman just, spontaneously off the top of his head, worrying about all these moves to curtail our press freedoms? And I'm thinking specifically of Trump's threat to all of his GOP followers to avoid passing the press surveillance, the Press
Act,
Freedoms Act, where I think to keep the feds off of surveilling the journalists and also putting them in jail when they won't, spill on their sources, or the one where the Congress, by that I mean the House, has passed a couple of times this bill that would allow the Treasury Secretary to cancel the nonprofit status of any outlet that they decide is terroristic, and that it would include the ACLU, which doesn't even take any money. Not that it's a press outfit, but it doesn't take any money from the feds specifically because they're the ACLU, but they would be at risk.
Both of these are toast, Susan. Both of these are toast. The Press Act, is not going to get through Congress. The Republicans will not go for it. It provides a shield to reporters so that they don't have to divulge their sources.
I know it's toast, but nobody seems to be worried about it.
Well, it's just not going to pass. Sadly, I think it's an important piece of legislation. I agree with you, and the bill that would allow the Treasury Secretary to cut off, the nonprofit status of groups that the president doesn't like, even if that passes the Senate, it's passed the House now. Even if it passes the Senate, Joe Biden won't sign it. So, and there's not enough votes to override his veto. I expect, however, that bill will come back in the next House of Representatives, and what we're going to see, the battle we're going to have around it then is going to be whether John Thune is going to suspend the filibuster or whether he's going to let Democrats filibuster the bill. And we're going to learn an awful lot, once that whole process starts. But yeah, I share your concern, Susan. Thank you for the call. Glenn in Los Angeles. Hey, Glenn, what's up?
I'm a bit frustrated when you and the congressman talk about having to get the money for the government from taxes. I would ask you and the audience to check out the movie Finding the Money. It's Stephanie Kelton and much of the
modern monetary theory.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Really, it's the basis of everything. You keep talking about, we got to tax. You don't. You don't got to tax to get the money.
Well, there's two reasons why you tax rich people. The first is arguably to fund the government. The second is to change their behavior. And that's also why you want to change it's also why you want to tax corporations.
But what you and the congressman, he just said it. He just said we got to tax them in order to get money.
Yeah. I understand the argument, Glenn. I understand it. But, that's the way Americans understand the system. I'm fully cognizant of Stephanie Kelton's perspective. She's been on this program a number of times. But it's not going to win an election. We'll be right back. 27 minutes past the hour, picking up your calls on the other side of the break. Larry's up next.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And my apologies to Larry. I forgot that I put him back on hold. I'll pick up Larry's call on the other side of the break and all the rest of them. We'll be right back. Big news. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosenali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney in by Kairos, Missouri. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac and Tiana in Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our economy. that our kids deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. And we want to believe that our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger. Leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and that's all of us, that's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669. Help support Progressive Radio. If you're listening to us on a commercial station, call their advertisers and let them know you're listening. If you're listening to us on Pacifica, or one of our many nonprofit stations, please support them when they do their fundraising drives. Thanks for supporting Progressive Talk Radio, and tag you're it. Between 40 years of Ronald Reagan's neoliberalism destroying the American middle class and all the just horrors of January 6th and the Trump presidency, America's waking up, and that's a really good thing. There's actually, some books coming out about this. Mine, The Hidden History of Democracy. Neil Howe's The Fourth Turning is here. And it looks like a moment of American renaissance is upon us, if our media doesn't screw it up, which raises the question, can we have democracy and Fox News? Can the two coexist? Like, when Fox News runs chyrons saying that essentially Joe Biden is a wannabe dictator who's throwing Trump in jail because he's his political opponent. There's a whole rant about this and an in-depth analysis of what can we do with regard to repairing our media here in the United States over at HartmannReport.com. I think you'll find it interesting. Check it out.
I'm dreaming of a bright Christmas where every culture shares delight with tables.
And then goes Friday, picking up your calls here. Larry in Los Angeles. Hey, Larry, my apologies for not putting you back on the air 10 minutes ago.
No problem. It's a Jobs Friday.
Yeah, it is.
We got a jobs
That's right. We got a jobs report.
And it's a pretty good jobs report. 227,000 jobs were created. So we're back on track to the low levels that Powell knocked Joe Biden's job creation down to. We were seeing 600, 700, 800,000 jobs created before Powell decided he was going to jack up the Fed rate at a very fast rate to try to destroy Biden's economy. But he still has seen more jobs created than Reagan, Bush, Trump combined in one term. And so when you and now what appears to be happening right now, I've frequently talked about how quantitative easing reminds me of quantum physics because spooky things happen from a distance. So right now, when the VIX is rising fast, it pulls the Dow down. And over the last few days, it appears that the VIX has this spooky effect on the Dow, where it keeps the Dow 100 points below par.
Is the VIX up right now?
No, it's down by 140 the last time I looked.
Oh, interesting.
But what happened is a couple of days ago, the Dow hit 45,000. And after the Dow hit 45,000, the VIX got vigorous and started having this effect on the Dow. It doesn't have the same effect on the NASDAQ nor the S&P 500, by the way.
The VIX, for people who don't know what we're talking about, is basically the kind of the uncertainty or instability index, right? There's a better description for it, I suppose.
It spookily is only attacking the Dow, and you can watch it on an hour-by-hour basis. Just watch this thing. It's amazing. The Dow starts gaining, then the VIX reaches up and pulls it back down. And I still believe that is the invisible hand of Powell. And I think that what Congress needs to do, at least what the Senate, if they can do it, is force Powell to make the moves that he's doing, make them visible. Right now, he can do almost anything he wants, and there's no transparency. Yeah. So I can sit back and look at the Dow and watch it move on a second-to-second basis, but Powell could be behind the scenes, behind the curtain, pulling the Dow down, and then taking some of the money that he's pulling the Dow down with and putting it back into the NASDAQ, so the NASDAQ wouldn't be affected by the VIX. Yeah. And it kind of looks like there's some monkey business going on, and the reason why I'm concerned about it is because there isn't a person on these financial programs that's talking about this weird activity that's going on right now to try to make sure that Biden does not get a higher percentage in market gains than Donald Trump did. Now, Donald Trump's market gains came because Powell pumped trillions of dollars into the stock market.
So do you think? I got that. Do you think Trump is going to keep Powell on, or does he even have the power to fire him?
Trump is an absolute idiot. I know people don't like for us to make names, call people names. Trump is an absolute idiot. The guy that put him in the White House in the first place was the FBI head. Yeah. And after he put him in there, Trump is so stupid because he wants to take credit for him. Yeah, James Comey
got him in the White House, and he fires Comey. No, I got it.
And then he fires him. So he wants to fire Powell also. And Powell's the reason why he got a second term, because Powell is the one that caused the inflation to streak up when Biden was president. All that spending that Powell did, all that spending that Donald Trump did, $5 trillion over the budget for 2 years in a row. That's what gave us the recession.
Right.
Not
the
recession,
inflation,
but that's what gave us that inflation. And now that Powell did this deed for Donald Trump, the clowns. I'm going to upset a few people who don't like name calling. The clown, the crazy man.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it. Larry, I need to wrap it up, but was there a final point you wanted to make before I move along?
Well, I'm just watching what I see the markets being manipulated by Powell.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Larry, thank you. It's always great to hear from you, and happy Friday. Michael in Gainesville, Florida. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Yeah, Tom. Listen, I think we need to start teaching evolution as the truth. Right now, the entire country sees social services as a cost and a drag on productivity. It is not. What we're looking at is we're seeing natural law as a natural law of colonialism, not a natural law of nature. Both Dems and Republicans are scientifically misled to think that trickle down is a real thing based on survival.
I don't think there's any Democrats who believe that trickle down is a real thing, and I think we are teaching evolution in our schools, aren't we?
No, we're actually not. If you look, cooperation is not what people leave school thinking that evolution has anything to do with.
Oh, you're talking about like David Loy's take on Charles Darwin.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And we have to do this because we see citizens right now as consumers of wealth.
Yeah.
And we need to see them as creators of wealth and producers.
No, I get it. I was a member of David Loy's kind of, panel of consultants, as it were, or whatever. I forget what he called it. For people
and I know it hasn't worked. And I know it's been difficult for thousands of years. This is basically the base ethos of Christianity, is that cooperation. The Democrats need to be the party of joy and abundance. Right now, Republicans are the party of fear and scarcity.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I agree with you. Michael, thank you very much. And David Loy, by the way, wrote several books, Darwin's Theory of Love. You can Google him, Loye, David Loy. He's Rianne Eisler's husband. Rianne is a friend, and she's been on this program too, and who wrote The Chalice and the Sword, or The Chalice and the Blade, I guess it is, and just a number of great books. And David's point was that what Darwin was saying was that was not survival of the fittest, not competition, but cooperation. Cooperation is how all the cells in our body work. If your liver started competing with your heart, you'd die. All of your, throughout our body, we have cooperation. In nature, we have cooperation. Yes, the foxes eat the bunnies, but actually the bunnies cooperate in that too. So it's just an amazing perspective on evolution. Evelyn in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Evelyn, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I'm really happy to talk to you. I've been listening to you for 20 years and subscribed to the podcast for 15 years. And I've never had the nerve to call before, but I have been niggled to death about people wondering why Trump is picking the people that he's picking for his cabinet. It's like, well, what's his ulterior motive? Isn't it obvious? They're buying those positions with tips.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean the tips that were legalized by the Supreme Court?
Exactly.
Yes.
He doesn't have any political motive. He's doing it for money.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that when Trump becomes president, what we're going to find out is that most of what he wants to do is use the power of the presidency to promote his own company. His son Eric is now talking about doing development projects in several different countries. Trump is not going to give up his ownership of the company or step away from it at all, even remotely this time around. He's just going to thumb his nose to that tradition, and it's going to be all grifting all the time.
Well, it's just so obvious that, when people try to put some big political motive to it, I'm like, no. And then the other reason I was prompted to call is I'm black, and one of my hot buttons is African American. If somebody says American, talk about white privilege. You just assume they're white because anybody who's not white has some other word put in front of the word.
So what should I say instead,
American,
Evelyn, in your mind?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my people have been in this country for hundreds and hundreds of years, but I'm still not an American. I'm an African
You're listening
American.
to Thom Hartmann.
I get it.
Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
So Evelyn, what should I say instead of African American?
Black.
Okay.
If you want to describe me as being a black person, which only ever applies, of course, if
I got it.
there's
I'm sorry, I'm out of time, but I got it. Thank you. And welcome back. Christina in Sonora, California. Hey, Christina, what's on your mind today?
Hey, good Friday to you, Mr. Hartmann.
Thank you.
I've been thinking, thank you. I've always thought of these Republicans as weak, cowardly, spineless, and I think the name that I should have told you before when I did get through was that they're rollover Republicans. They're bend-the-knee Republicans.
Yeah.
And you know what? In this age of everything being an acronym, just BTK, bend the knee. That's who they are.
Yep.
They have no spine. They don't care. They just want power and perpetuity, and they're going to let Trump do what he does, and that's not helping. And they're just rollover Republicans. They just bend at the knee and BTK. That's it.
Or KTA, kiss the ass. I mean, they're making a pilgrimage right now to Florida. Yeah, I get it. Well, that's a good one, Christina. That's a good one. Christina, thank you for the call. Thanks for sharing that. Yep, good talking to you. Richard in Highland Park, California. Hey, Richard, what's up?
What's up is all the countries since Mexico did it, getting AMLO in, and now Claudia Sheinbaum, all the countries, England, they're all like doing something about getting these right-wingers out, and we do nothing about Trump. Now, I've spoken to you about something called STUN, S-T-U-N, and if you would please read that, I'll call back Monday and see what you say. I check into them. They change things almost every day. They add new stuff. And they're going for, we get this thing handled like France is getting it handled, and South Korea overnight.
What's the website again, Richard?
Huh?
What's the website?
What? Oh, it's not a website. PASOIR.com is the website, but you can just look up STUN, S-T-U-N.
Okay.
It stands for Shift the Unfit Narrative, actually, is what it is.
Okay, I got it. I'll look
Monday. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Carol in Menneson, Pennsylvania. Hey, Carol, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'll wish you a happy holidays in advance.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thank you. I've been so absolutely terrified since this person was reelected as our president. I can't believe that we have elected this clown. I mean, there are good people in the Republican Party who could have put up.
I think calling him a clown is an insult to clowns. He's a rapist.
It is an insult to clowns. And speaking of rapists, yes, he is, and he's a felon. But mostly, when he's been choosing this insane cabinet, and they're saying, well, he can't have these people in because they've been abusing women or whatever. Here we have a rapist that they don't have any problem with making our president and our commander-in-chief. I mean, what is wrong here? Is there nothing in God's green earth that we can do to stop him from becoming president? I know you know a lot about our Constitution and a lot about, well, everything. It seems that there must be some way, something people can do.
We're just going to have to buckle in.
There has to be, Tom. We can't put this man in office again.
I think it's going to be 1928 all over again. You know, when Herbert Hoover came into office, everything was going just great, and then the stock market collapsed, and Hoover didn't do anything about it, I really suspect that the next 4 years we're going to see a major recession, a major crash, and it's going to be the end of the GOP. Now, it could just be wishful thinking on my part, but I think I have some empirical evidence for it. I'm going to have to write it up one of these days. Carol, thank you for the call. It's 49 minutes past the hour. Stay tuned. Hey,
Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us.
Turn the dial, tune in, and you'll find the voice of reason for the open mind. On Lefty Talk Radio, we speak the truth about the American dream for me and you.
Welcome back. 10 minutes before the hour. Picking up your calls here at Anything Goes Friday. Robert in Greenville, North Carolina. Hey, Robert, what's up?
What's up? We have grandmothers on the front lines in Ukraine fighting for their country.
You're right.
And then we have Graf Dodger-Donnie, who didn't want to fight for our country.
Yep.
When we needed him to fight, and we have to worry about South Korea. There's something really going on that's dangerous.
Well, I think the good news is that the South Korean parliament said no to President Yoon, and he backed down. And now they're talking about impeaching him. And I think the impeachment vote is going to be Tuesday of next week. I could be wrong. It's been a day or two since I read the article, but it's coming. And I mean, obviously, he did not have anything close to the control over the PPP party, his version of the Republican Party, and the South Korea's version of the Democratic Party had retaken control of the parliament. But he couldn't even get a single vote from his own side in parliament. It was like, zero. Not one single dissent. Not one single person was willing to stand up and defend him. I don't think that Trump is going to have that kind of a problem. I think Trump has much better control over the GOP than Yoon did over the PPP.
I hope you're right.
No, I hope I'm wrong. Because what that means is that Trump could get away with doing what Yoon tried to do. Yoon was unsuccessful because he didn't have the level of control that Trump had, and that concerns me. I wrote about this Monday or Tuesday. You can find it at HartmannReport.com. All my thoughts on it and details. But
I think the reason
it's a thing.
He failed was because the people hit the streets before he could do more.
I think that was a large part of it. I agree with you, Robert. And also in the media landscape in South Korea, there is only one network that is the equivalent of Fox News, and it's only 2 years old, and it doesn't have that big a following. So, there's the people are well informed, whereas people who watch Fox News, by and large, are just terribly uninformed. Robert, thank you. Lawrence in Berkeley. Hey, Lawrence, what's up?
Yeah, hi. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
I wanted to offer 3 magic words to all the political and social groups in the country. Community mutual aid. And what I mean by that is that we have to form groups at the base on with individual people and groups of people, getting them together and helping them to help each other. That's, politics is great, but we cannot change this country with politics alone. We have to change the base. And, there's dozens and dozens of techniques for various kinds of mutual aid. And I'm writing a letter now to the 200 progressive groups in Berkeley about this. But also, I would hope that, you talk to a lot of politicians and you get them on the air and they're great, but I hope you'll also get some community organizers, people who are really dealing with the basic structure of the population, which is not politics.
Yeah. It's a great suggestion. If you have any ideas for people that you think would be good guests for the program, feel free to call in and just give the information to I think Mateo is answering the phones today, and usually is answering the phones.
I don't have any names, right now, but there are a lot of really good people who are doing this.
Yeah.
And
I think we're going to have Bill Ayers on next week, maybe. He's got a new book out. I mean, that was community organizing in the 60s, but still, there are lessons.
Yeah. Well, that's when we really had it. That's when we had so much trust that you could hitchhike any time.
That's true.
That's
true.
People
I hitchhiked all the way across the United States, from Michigan to Texas to Los Angeles or to San Francisco and then back to Michigan.
You're absolutely right.
Me too.
That was in 68.
I went from California to New York and back.
Yep, there you go. Try that today. It ain't going to work. Lawrence, I want to try and get one more call in here before the end of the day, but thank you so much for your call and spot on. Kevin in Long Beach, California. Hey, Kevin, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Hey, you know, the restaurants are packed, the planes are packed, the ballparks are packed, the concerts are packed. Biggest holiday travel season, $11 billion on Black Friday, $13 billion on Cyber Monday. It's the media, stupid. It's not the economy, and that's the only reason he got in there, because of the media.
I wouldn't say it's the only reason, but I'd say it's probably 80% of it. I think Elon Musk spending $270 million to elect Donald Trump. I think X turning into a right-wing echo chamber, and I think
that's what I mean.
A handful of billionaires
that they spread.
Yeah.
And if a politician did 1,000th of what he's done in his life 20 years ago, their career would have been ruined.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kevin, thank you. Well said. Kusai in Campo, California. We have just a little less than a minute left. Kusai, you got a quick one?
Yes, sir. I just want to point out, it's not going to be that easy for Donald to do all the things that he wants to do, because all the cuttings from all these departments are going to conflict with the other billionaires that are existing, and they're not going to just let them take their shares of the toll, just really like that.
Well, and if he goes after the defense contractors, the other defense contractors are going to say, well, wait a minute, Elon's getting billions as a defense contractor. I mean, it's going to be a cluster.
Exactly. So there's not going to be no honor amongst thieves, like they say, so they're going to fight.
Yeah, and I think they're already lining up for the fight. It certainly looks that way, and the billionaires, the big corporations, the lobbyists, they've all got to be getting ready to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kusai, thanks a lot for the call. And thank you to you for watching today or listening today to the program. Thanks for being with us all this week. We really appreciate it. And special thanks to Louise Hartman, Sean Taylor, Nate Atwell, Jamie Holly, Nigel Peacock, Sue Nethercutt, Patrick Hoyt, Geraldine Halbert, Ron Hartenbaum, Chase Spross, Nicholas Miller, Pat Sweeney, Jay LeBlanc, Jeremy Peterson, Connor Arroyo, Carne Verde, Martha Salinas, and Mateo Robertson, all the great people who work on this program. And don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us, and that includes you. So get out there, get active, tag. You're it. Have a great afternoon, and I'll catch up with you on Monday. Have a wonderful week.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
Big news. Today is double match day. Today, your $10 becomes $20, your $20 becomes $40, your $50 becomes $100, your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Whatever you give gets doubled. There's a bunch of and big thanks to the Winter Fund Drive frontline funders who helped make this possible, which includes Andrew in Bosenali, California, Bill in Boise, Idaho, Brenda in Texas, Charlene in Houston, Corrine and Kimberly in Sylmar, California, Diane in Santa Rosa, Delaney by Kairos, Missouri, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, Jerry in Oakland, Jerry in Chandler, Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Mac and Tiana in Cowdrey, Colorado, Mike in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, Natasha in Los Angeles, California, Sheila in Grinnell, Iowa, and Suzanne in Catlett, Virginia. And thank you to the folks who made this possible. Your donation will be doubled. Whatever you give. So please call now, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your donation. With a $100 gift, they will plant a tree for reforestation. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes the cookie, a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and other goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, all 10 books signed by me, all in the Hidden History series. And while you're doing that, here's a great speech by former Texas Governor Ann Richards about the real meaning of America.
And it doesn't matter whether we are black or Hispanic or disabled or women. We believe that America is a country where small business owners must succeed because they are the bedrock, backbone of our deserve good daycare and public schools. We believe our kids deserve public schools where students can learn and teachers can teach. And we want to believe that our parents will have a good retirement, and that we will too. We Democrats believe that Social Security is a pact that cannot be broken. We want to believe that we can live out our lives without the terrible fear that an illness is going to bankrupt us and our children. We Democrats believe that America can overcome any problem, including the dreaded disease called AIDS. We believe that America is still a country where there is more to life than just a constant struggle for money. And we believe that America must have leaders who show us that our struggles amount to something and contribute to something larger. Leaders who want us to be all that we can be.
That's just incredible. She starts out saying that, I thought you'd want to hear somebody who's got, after George W. Bush, who has a real Texas accent. Of course, George Bush was born in Connecticut, as I recall. Anyway, it's match day. Your donation is doubled if you didn't catch me at the very beginning of this thing. And now is the perfect time to support this television network, Free Speech TV. Help us keep this show on the air and all the other great programming on free speech. And, awaken America. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all about. We're heading into what may well be the darkest time, certainly in our lifetimes. I would not want to compare this to the Civil War or even the Revolutionary era, but or the Great Depression, at least so far, knock wood. We'll see what Trump and Musk do to us. But we're heading into some really dark times, and we need a progressive television network that tells the truth, where people can come together, where people can call in, where people can be part of the programming, where, that's you, and it's all of us. That's a collective we. And that's Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV has been doing this for decades. It is just an extraordinary gift to humanity. I'm just amazed that this network, back in the day, John Schwartz started this network, and it's still here. And it's growing, with this new management team that's just, Mark and Lydia, that are just doing spectacular stuff. They really are deserving, of your support. So call now. Whatever you give will be doubled. 877-378-8669.